Look, man, these past 4 months, I've been on a journey of, living lust free. I've been free of lust and been fleeing from lust for the past 4 months. And, you know, I personally want to share with y'all what I've noticed, how it's changed me and, why fleeing from lust, really matters, like the bigger picture of fleeing from lust. And it wasn't easy at all. Like, it's not easy at all to this day. Like, these past 4 months, there's been days where it's been easy. There's been days where I've been tempted a million times. There's been days where I just struggle. I fight that temptation for a very long time. And yes, I didn't fall into the temptation and I didn't give in. But there's been days where it's been really hard. So I'm not just gonna sit here and act like everything's been, sunshine and rainbows, because I was a person, I'm just be transparent with y'all, who struggle with lust every single day, um, before I really started, locking in and realizing that, we can't keep falling into lust, or I personally can't keep falling into lust. That's something that was fogging my mind. That's something that was changing my perspective on a lot of things. It's something that was just, bringing down my confidence. It's something that was holding me back. It's something that was taking me away from God instead of closer. So when I seen that, I was like, it's time to really lock in on it. It's time to, really flee from this and, grow. It's really time to flee from this and change. I made a video about it before. It was, I don't know how long ago, but it was titled My Struggles with Lust, where I was just talking like I'll be free for a week and I'll run away or flee from it from a week, and then boom, it comes back. And that still happens today. I still get those temptations, every now and then, but it's to a point where I know how to control my urges. I know how to control my temptations, being, free from it from so long. Like, I know that I'm in control and not my mind. I know I'm in control and not the devil trying to come in and throw me off my path. Like, it's kind of a discipline over desire thing. Like, how to master yourself, how to master your thoughts, how to master your actions, instead of being, held captive by your urges, instead of being held captive by the temptations. You kind of know how to move in that spiritual warfare battle, because that's what it is, really, man. It's a spiritual warfare battle, going back and forth with the temptations, or, running away from the temptations. Like, you got somebody over here telling you not to do it. You got somebody over here telling you to do it. Like, we all been there before, but when you continuously flee from it, we continuously flee from the temptations, like, you really learn how to master yourself. You know how to master your mind, and you learn how to master your urges instead of being held captive by them. And I'm gonna just be honest, but I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room. Like, when you start to flee from lust and you start to run away from lust, for me personally, but I've heard a lot of people say this in their stories also, you should really start to look at women differently. You not looking at women for their bodies anymore. And I'm gonna just be honest, like, I was somebody who was in that moment before, and I was in that state of mind before, when I was held captive to lust, when I was fueled by lust, when I was only focused on that instead of everything else. But when you start to flee from lust and you start to live lust free, bro, like, you no longer look at women for their bodies. And when I say lust free, I'm talking about free from pornography. I'm talking about free from, you know, sex. I'm talking about free from, releasing your energy out. If you know what that means. I'm just saying, like free from all of that. Fleeing from everything. So it allows you to stop looking at women as objects and start looking at women as women. For their values, for their characteristics, for their personality, for everything they have to offer, and not just how they look. Not just how their body looks. Like, I'm gonna just be 100% honest, bro. I'm not even focused on that anymore when I talk to women, or when I meet a new person. You know, like I'm not focused on the body. I'm not focused on how she looks. I'm not focused on, oh, she can do this or she looks like that. She can do this. Like, no, bro, I'm focused on personality, you know, values, characteristics. Um, I'm losing my train of thought. Standards, you know, are you close with God? Do you have a relationship with God? You know, stuff like that. Like it's no longer about what they have to offer in a physical or on the physical side of things, you know, because I don't even want to, you know, do that anymore. Like I don't want to give my energy to somebody else until we're married anymore. Like I've grown past that. I've progressed past that. And yeah, the temptations are there a lot, like I said, but I've learned being free from lust for 4 months how to control that. You know, I've gained a clarity of my mind. I've gained a clarity in everything. You know, I have less distractions. I have less temptations. I have less mental fog, and I've really been able to, you know, process things differently when I'm keeping my energy. You know, when I'm not letting that out. You know, and I've also experienced, you know, more in higher energy levels. You know, I've experienced more drive, more motivation, more focus, more, you know, inspiration, more discipline in everything that I'm doing because I'm not just giving that energy away for no reason. You know, I'm not putting that energy and focusing that energy on something negative, you know, something that is holding me back. I'm putting all that energy into things to help me grow, you know, into YouTube, into school, into my relationship with God. Like you experience your energy levels going up and you experience more confidence also. Me personally, I'm a person that doesn't like to talk to people about social anxiety, stuff like that. And I still have that to this day. Like that didn't go away, but I've been able to feel not as drained or not as guilty. I've been able to believe in myself more. I've been able to be confident in myself more in everything that I'm doing. You know, no matter what it may be, like I've experienced and seen more confidence in myself. You know, and I've also gained way more self-respect than I've ever had. You know, like I know, like I said, that I'm in control of my urges. I'm in control of my actions. I'm in control of my temptations, you know, and it's not the other way around. You know, I respect myself enough to control that and not let it control me. You know, like I said, like there's temptations that come every single day. Like it's not easy. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. But when you lean on God and you bring God in place of the lust, it gets easy. You know, like I've told y'all before, and like I always say, it's not about, you know, fighting that lust battle. It's not about going toe to toe with lust and fighting that battle of spiritual warfare. It's about fleeing from lust and just running as far away as you can from it. You know, it's about running to God in those moments. It's about filling those moments of temptation with God, with prayer, with the Bible, with worship, just like anything, bro. Like when you experience that temptation, when you experience that trigger, run to God. Flee to God, flee away from it. Don't try to fight it because that's not a battle that you can win. That's not a battle. Well, it's a battle that you can win, but you can't win that battle alone. You know, and God tells us to flee from it. So why do we constantly try to fight it? Why do we constantly try to go toe to toe with it when, you know, we can't do it by ourselves? You know, and that's something that really made me realize and really made me, you know, lust free or help me be lust free as I realized that I can't fight it. Like I just stopped trying to fight it. I stopped trying to fight it. Whenever I got the urge, whenever I got the temptation, I literally went and prayed. I literally ran to God. Like I prayed every single night, every single day, you know, to be free from that, to be free from the shackles of lust, to be lust free. And, you know, God has came through. God has helped me on the journey every single day. And still to this day, when I get those urges, I flee to God. I run to God. I replace that temptation and I change my thought process and I just pray. Like, God, can you please like help me flee from these temptations? Can you get these temptations out of my head? You know, stuff like that. Like I replace that time and that energy that is normally spent with lust, and I replaced it with God. I replaced it with the Word. Replaced it with prayer. You know, and it just allows you to grow so much spiritually when you start to flee from lust. Like I said, lust was taking me away from God every single day. Like it was pushing me further and further and further every single day. And now that I'm blessed and I've been lust free for the past 4 months, like my relationship with God has grown so much. It's grown every single day. I've been able to create way more, and y'all see that in the YouTube videos. Y'all see that in the TikToks that I make. If you've seen those before, I don't know if y'all have, but like it's just enabled me to grow so much spiritually. I'm not perfect. Like I always tell y'all, like I'm a human also. Like sometimes, some days I mess up, some days, you know, I'm not the best, I'm not perfect, and I'm not going to sit here and portray to y'all like I'm perfect, but I can say that my relationship with God has grown since I've been free of lust, since I've, fleed from that and turned to God. But, like lust is something that can hold you back in so many ways, can make you feel a way about yourself in so many ways, can make you think thoughts that you normally would not think without lust, and I just encourage everybody, man, to really just take the time to just flee from it, man. Like I don't know another way to put it. I know that's cliche. I know that's easier said than done, but I really encourage people to take the time to just focus on actually getting out of that cycle of lust. Because the things of the world and lust is never going to fulfill you. I was a person also that would use lust to try to make me feel good in times where I wasn't, feeling the best. I would try to make me, you know, feel important by doing that, but it only, deepens that wound. It only makes you feel worse on the backside of that, So like, I just encourage you to really take the time to talk to God. I really encourage you to take the time to just focus on controlling those temptations, controlling those urges whenever they may come, and it's not about being perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Like I said in my other video titled Struggling with Lust, like I'll be good for a week and then boom, it happened again. Or I'll be good for a couple weeks and then boom, it'll happen again. But these last 4 months, like that hasn't happened, so it's not about being perfect, but like you're never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. And I'll be the first person to tell you that. But it is about growing every single day. It is about making progress and taking a step forward every single day and being able to experience that freedom from lust. Like that's what it's about. It's not about being perfect. Like it's okay to not be perfect. You're not going to be perfect, but take the intentional steps to make progress every single day. Take the intentional steps to grow and flee from lust and run to God every single day. Like if I can do it, bro, I promise you can overcome it too. I promise you can flee from it too. I promise you can live lust free too, but you got to take it one step at a time. One step at a time. Like I told you before, bro, I've been captive to lust for years and years and years before these past 4 months. Like, I'm not perfect, bro. I'm never going to tell y'all that I'm perfect. I'm going to show y'all the good and the bad. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say that with God and by getting closer to God and praying and, just growing that relationship, He has allowed me and has helped me to, flee from lust, and if I can do it for 4 months, bro, if I can run away from it, if I can flee from it, like you can too. Like I promise you can. Just think about your future, bro. Think about, where you want to be in the future. Is lust gonna help you get there or is it gonna stop you from getting there? I know for me personally, like it held me back from getting there, stopped me from getting there, and you're way stronger than you think. Like way stronger, bro. Like the more you starve that temptation, the more you run away from those urges and you control those urges, the more you allow your spirit to grow. The more you allow your relationship with God to grow. So you just got to keep going. Like it's worth it. I promise. Like the females are always going to be there, bro. Like always, like they're always going to be there. And sometimes they're going to hinder you more than they help you. And in this way, like they're going to hinder you. You know what I'm saying? Like just flee from lust, bro. Stop looking at women as objects. Stop looking at women for just what they can give you, and focus on, the spiritual side of it. Focus on their personalities, what they think or their intentions, what their standards or values. Like, they're not just there for that. If you know what I'm saying, they're not just there for you to do that with. You know what I'm saying? That's not what they're here. Like, they're humans too, bro. You know what I'm saying? And lust really gets in the way of your thought process on that. And when you flee from lust, you start to see woman for women, and not just for objects. So like I said, man, I know it's been a long video and I've been saying a lot, but I encourage you to flee from lust, man. I really do. It's the best thing that I've done in a long time. Is really taking the time to control the urges, and flee from the temptations, and just fill those times with God. But choice is yours, man. Like, you can be held captive to it for a long time, or you can keep falling into the temptations and keep letting the temptations control you, or you can control the temptations, or you can control the urges. Like, the choice is yours, man. But I really do encourage y'all to flee and run away as far as you can from lust. But that'll be all for this video, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you like this video, go hit that sub button. We're with 600 subs. Appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll see y'all in the next one.